Hi, this is Simon Moon from Simon Moon Music, and it's part 9 in my series of tutorials on how to produce music with Bitwig Studio. Today I would like to talk about staging and stereo positioning, which is mostly concerning the question on how to place instruments further in the back of the whole setup, or more closely to the audience, or more to the left, more to the right. And in order to have something to demonstrate this with, I would like to extend the track a little bit further. So let's do that first. You may remember that we started the song with this section. And these are the parts we worked with and we developed throughout the last couple of tutorials. And I do believe that if I copy this first section over, then we have a pretty decent transition to what comes here. But we'll soon find out about that. So the transition from this leady part here sounds like this. Okay, what I would like to have here now is a couple of vocals, and I've already prepared those here. So this is another project, and another interesting thing about Bitwig is that you can have a number of projects open at the same time. There's only one project which can use the audio engine, actually. This is indicated by this Bitwig icon being highlighted yellow. In here it's grayed out, and the active part is, is using the audio engine. And since doing the timing for the vocals is not exactly entertaining, I've prepared that beforehand, and I'm simply pasting them in here. So now it sounds like this. Sorry, I need to turn on the audio engine for this project. Okay, so the staging aspects, I would like to demonstrate those with the vocals, because I think it's with the vocals that becomes most obvious. First of all, if we listen to this section here, and I soloed the vocals real quick, then we don't get the feeling that the male vocals are further to the back, and that's exactly where I want them to be. At the moment they are competing with the space in the front of the song, and the female vocals are supposed to be to the front, close to the audience, because that's where the singers typically are. I achieved this effect first of all by having a reverb. I don't know if you remember that, but we've introduced a reverb called near reverb pretty early in our tutorial series, I guess. The idea for a reverb that works for the elements of the song which are close to the audience is that it has, first of all, pre-delay, a lot of bass content. So the bass segments of the song, of the bass frequencies, the lower frequencies of the reverb are fading out very slowly when compared to the high frequency content in here, which starts around 4K. And I will demonstrate how to turn these sections into a reverb that works for elements of the track which are supposed to be further to the background. Okay, let's listen to the female vocals really quick one more time. Gange cha yamune chaiva. And one important aspect is the pre-delay. The idea is that if you have a singer who is singing very close to you, being close to your ears, then the direct signal that comes from the mouth of the singer is reaching your ears significantly earlier than the sound being reflected by the walls. Whether it's a hall, a room, whatever, there are always a couple of milliseconds that the direct sound is coming, appearing at your ears sooner than the reflected sound. That's why if you want to put somebody close to the audience, you need pre-delay, and it should be, I don't know, at least 60 milliseconds and increasing depending on the audio material. So let's simply tweak pre-delay here a little bit. Gange cha yamune chaiva. And reduce the reverb amount as well. Gange cha yamune chaiva. And now the female voice sounds pretty close to you, whereas I want the male voice to sound pretty far away. And in order to demonstrate how to do this, I simply duplicate this effect track. Now I have an identical one here. I call this one, ta-da, far reverb. And now if we listen to the male voice with a lot of far reverb on it, which is identical to the near reverb at the moment because we haven't changed anything. So the male voice also sounds pretty close to the audience, and I don't want that. I want the male voice to be closer to the rear walls of the room we're in. So I reduce the lower frequency element or portions of our wet reverb signal, and introduce a little bit more of the high frequency portions. Now let's listen to what this sounds like. I also increase room's size a little bit and emphasize the late reflections. So to make this more audible, I add a little bit more of the wet signal. Still a little bit more, make the room size a little bit bigger, add more diffusion. And now in comparison to having the male voice assigned the near reverb, so this is closer to you when compared to this one. Okay, and now both voices together Okay, I had too little of the wet signal. And now you can hear the effect pretty well, I guess. Let's go back to the near reverb real quick. So even if we add more of the reverb wet signal to the female voice, it still remains in the foreground. Of course, there's other aspects as well that add to the question whether a specific signal or track element is more to the foreground or to the background. One is, let me see, let's go to the Bitwig tools. Where is it? Here. Bitwig Dynamics. No, sorry about that. That's where I wanted to go. Bitwig transient control. So another thing that gets lost when a signal moves further away from you is the transients. So if we reduce attack here, that's exactly what happens. The transients of this male voice here get reduced. And I make this very pronounced now. So this moves the male voice even further away from the audience. And of course it's also about simply volume. If something moves away from you, it becomes softer and softer. But let's leave it at that. At the moment we have two vocals, and one of those is placed to the foreground, the other one is placed to the background. We already have, if you go to our near reverb here, we have already a number of assignments, so a number of sounds that we are using are already assigned to the near reverb, and I guess that's being done for the most important ones. And now I would like to take care of the elements of the song I want more in the background. And now we'll simply go through them and add certain amounts of reverb, in this case the far reverb, to those as well. We start with our noise sweep here. I go to the far reverb and I use a lot of it. Because this noise sweep is supposed to be extremely diffused, and it also is supposed to work mostly in the background in the song, so that's okay now. Let's go through the other elements. This plug here, well, plugs I wouldn't usually place in the background, but in this case this is more like an ambient sound. And as a consequence, I would like to give this some amount of our far reverb as well. Okay, then our pads and strings. Obviously pads are supposed not to interact and compete with the things that take place in the front of the stage, so they also will be assigned that far reverb. So we introduce wet elements of or the wet reverb signal here. If I make this more and more, it becomes more and more roomy. Do this with the other pad as well. Okay, so that's good. Now the leads. The leads are supposed to be in the foreground, so we leave those the way they are. Basses as well, and the drums obviously also supposed to be in the foreground. So now we have two kinds of elements in our song. The ones which are assigned the far reverb as an effect, and the others which are assigned the near reverb. And by simply doing this, we are already achieving a staging effect of some sort, meaning placing elements more to the front or more to the back of a song. Okay, and now to stereo positioning. For today, I would like to keep this as simple as possible. And in order to do that, I would simply like to use panning in order to place things more to the left or more to the right. This is a very simple approach actually, but it's effective. There are more elaborate ways of doing this, but I think these would need a separate tutorial, and I'll probably do one in the near future. So for today, I would simply like to pick those elements and pan them around. And here we have two different lead sounds. So these are the lead sounds, and I would like to pan this one a little bit further to the left and the other one a little bit further to the right, or the other way around, whichever way you like it to be. So I need this thing here. So this is the mixer view, and it gives me the option of using this little pan knob here. So if I move this lead to the right and this to the left, this is what it sounds like. It shouldn't be too pronounced, but this already makes things more interesting and more easily discernible by the ear when compared to the way it was before, like this. And now back to the more interesting setup we had before. Okay, and we'll do the same thing to a number of song elements, like for example the vocals here. We could pick the male voice and put it a bit to the right, but leave the female voice in the middle, maybe a touch to the left, because this is of central interest. The main vocals should always be in the middle of your stereo spectrum and always in the foreground of the song. So I go back to this vocal part here where we can hear both. So that seems to work. And now to drums and basses. Concerning the drum element, everything that is extremely that has a lot of bass content, like the kick and the basses and also maybe toms, should be pretty much centered, at least the lower toms. Okay, so as a consequence, we leave the basses and the kick where they are. Right now, I don't think we're using a lot of drum elements. Okay, there are these two kicks. There's a high tom, which we could move to the left a little bit, Okay, let me check. There is another element here, I guess. Okay, and we pan this one a little bit further to the right. Okay, and I think that's all we're using here. There's this block. We could move this one somewhere here. Okay, since we're not using any other drum elements at the moment, that's all we can do. As soon as we introduce hi-hats or claps, we can go back to this process one more time and pan individual elements around until we like it. It's simply, you have to make it fit to your taste. There are some rules to adhere to, but on the other hand, why not keep it wild? Music should always be, to a certain extent, about anarchy as well, I guess. So feel free to play around. The leads, we've had a look at those already. The pads, I don't want to pan the pads around too much because they should always occupy a vast portion of the stereo spectrum anyways. So they are audible in the left channel, in the right channel. They should have also a little mono content. So I would simply leave it the way they are. But one thing we can do in terms of, stereo positioning is, in order for those pads and strings not to block out those elements of the song which are supposed to be centered, like for example the vocals, we could do the following trick. Let's use in Bitwig the mid-side container. So there's a mid-side split here, and one thing we could do, very simple, is we could reduce the mid gain in order to attenuate the center elements or center portions of the sound, and increase the side gain and make it significantly more wide. Let's listen to this real quick. So these are the pads. Let's go here. So if I take this down completely, there's no mid element anymore. And it becomes wider and wider the more I increase the side gain. I just have to take care that I don't introduce clipping here. Okay, so much for the pads and the noise. Same thing, noise should actually be all across the frequency spectrum, but in our case I think the way it sounds, it's already okay. One thing I could do is I could simply copy this thing over to the noise sweep here as well. Oh, sorry, I didn't copy it. I think I moved it. Hold down Control, move it back to where it was. Okay, now it's back in here, and there's also a copy of that here as well. So, I think we've come pretty far today. We have a complete new section here. We placed some of our elements more to the foreground, more to the background of the song. Also did some touch-ups on stereo positioning. And, well, that should do for today. I hope you liked it. If you did, please follow me on YouTube. And have a nice day. Bye-bye.